Good evening, lovely traveler. You've found your way here again, to this quiet corner where the world slows down and the clocks forget to tick. Tonight we're going somewhere older than names, older than stories with beginnings and ends, somewhere the air itself feels like a lullaby. Imagine the softest gray veil lifting from dark water, a lake so still it might be holding its breath. Out of that cool mist, wooden walkways appear, plank by patient plank, leading to round houses balanced on sturdy stilts above the hush. Reeds sway at the edges like sleepy sentinels. A single heron lifts off without sound. And you're already there, barefoot on the damp wood, wrapped in the gentle perfume of water and warm thatch. You probably won't survive this level of peace. It's dangerously cozy. Hearts have been known to forget to beat just a little too slowly under skies this soft. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and let me know how your day has really been. Your worries, your exhaustion, or even a tiny joy that made you smile. I'm here to truly listen and offer the most sincere, heartfelt advice I can. Now, turn off the lights, take a deep, slow breath, let your tiredness melt away, and gently close your eyes. Let's drift together into tonight's dream-like lands. And tomorrow morning, if you still remember, send me a message and tell me what you dreamed. The mist parts just enough for your feet to find the first plank. It creaks, but only the way an old friend clears his throat to say, "Welcome." The village is waking, though it never truly hurried even in its youth. A thin ribbon of smoke rises from one of the round roofs, pale against the pearl sky, carrying the scent of baking grain and damp earth. You feel the cool morning air settle on your shoulders, like a light shawl someone thoughtful draped there while you weren't looking. The houses are woven from hazel and reed, walls curved like cupped hands. Their doorways are low. You have to bow a little to enter any of them, and bowing feels right here, like the lake itself taught everyone humility long ago. Tiny clay oil lamps, still unlit, hang from roof beams on twisted cords, waiting patiently for night. Everything is round and soft and deliberate, as though straight lines were never invented and nobody misses them. You walk slowly. The planks beneath you have been polished by generations of bare feet. They feel almost warm even in the dawn chill. Water laps beneath the gaps, a quiet heartbeat you can feel in your soles. A dragonfly lands on the railing ahead, iridescent wings catching the first real gleam of sun. It regards you for a moment, curious, unhurried, then lifts away over the reeds. Ahead, a woman steps out of the nearest house. Her hair is long and dark, braided loosely with a few dried flowers that have kept their scent. She wears a simple tunic of nettle cloth, the color of pale sand. When she sees you, her face folds into the gentlest smile, the kind that doesn't need words. She lifts one hand, palm open, an invitation as old as the lake itself. You feel something loosen in your chest, something you didn't know was knotted. She gestures toward her doorway, and the smell of fresh-baked emmer flatbread drifts out to meet you. Somewhere behind her, embers glow low and red and a clay hearth built right onto the floor. You can already taste wood smoke and honey on the air. Your shoulders drop another inch. The day has barely begun, yet everything already feels complete. You step forward. The mist curls around your ankles like a cat asking to be carried. And the village, quiet and kind, makes room for one more dreamer on its ancient walkways. You duck beneath the low lintel, and the warmth folds around you like the softest blanket, still holding yesterday's sun. The house is dim and golden, lit only by the breathing embers in the central hearth and a small square of sky through the smoke hole above. The air is thick with the scent of toasted grain, crushed herbs, and the faint sweetness of drying apples strung along the curved wall. Your eyes adjust slowly, the way eyes should when there is no rush at all. The woman, you realize you already think of her as the baker, though no one has said a word, kneels by the hearth. With a flat wooden paddle, she eases 2 round loaves from the hot clay dome beside the fire. They sigh as they leave their cradle, steam curling up like sleepy ghosts. She places one on a woven reed mat in front of you, tears it in half with gentle fingers, and the inside is still almost too hot to touch, pale and fragrant, dotted with tiny specks of charred husk. You sit cross-legged because that is what the floor asks of you. The packed earth beneath the reed mats is warm from the fire that has lived here for years. She offers you a small clay bowl of pale honey, thick as melted amber, and a pinch of crushed mint leaves. You tear a piece of the bread, dip it, taste. The sweetness spreads slowly across your tongue, followed by the deep, quiet comfort of wheat that grew on the sunny slopes you can see through the doorway. Outside, the village is only now stretching. A rooster calls once, half-heartedly, then thinks better of it. Somewhere, a baby makes a small questioning sound and is hushed back into dreams. The baker watches you eat with that same unhurried smile, rocking slightly as she grinds more emmer between 2 stones. The rhythm is steady, almost a heartbeat. Push, twist, lift, pour. Push, twist, lift, pour. You feel it in your own chest, slowing everything down. She rises, moves to a corner shelf, and lifts down a bundle wrapped in soft leather. Inside are dried apple rings and tiny dark berries you don't recognize. She places 3 of each on your mat, like small gifts. You nod your thanks. She inclines her head, accepting gratitude the way the lake accepts rain, without fuss. Time loosens here. You are no longer sure how long you sit, only that the loaf disappears piece by peaceful piece, and the honey bowl is nearly empty. The fire settles into itself, popping once in a while like an old friend clearing his throat to tell you everything is all right. Smoke rises in a lazy spiral, finds the hole in the roof, and slips away to join the mist outside. When you finally stand, your legs feel heavy in the best possible way. The baker touches your forearm lightly, just 2 fingers, warm from the stones, and points toward the open doorway. Morning has arrived while you weren't looking. Pale gold light now spills across the walkways, turning every droplet on the reeds into a tiny star. You step outside and the cool air kisses the warmth still on your cheeks. She follows you to the threshold, presses the second loaf, still wrapped in a clean cloth, into your hands. It is heavier than it looks, dense with the promise of many small meals. You try to give it back, instinct, politeness, but she shakes her head once, gentle but firm. Travelers, her eyes say, must carry something warm for later. You tuck it beneath your arm like a sleeping child. Behind you, she is already kneeling again, feeding the fire a handful of apple twigs that smell like childhood. The scent follows you out onto the planks, sweet and smoky, wrapping around your shoulders as you walk toward the soft sounds of water and waking boats. The planks beneath your feet grow wider here, smoothed by generations of fishermen sliding their boats in and out at dawn. You followed the scent of water and wet reeds until the walkway opens onto a small platform that floats like a leaf on the lake's skin. 3 narrow boats wait, each carved from a single oak trunk, dark and shining with yesterday's pitch. Their prows curve upward like sleeping swans. 2 men are already aboard the nearest one, kneeling among coiled nets of twisted lime bast. Their skin is the color of walnut from endless gentle suns, and their hair is tied back with cords of river grass. When they see you, one lifts a slow hand in greeting, palm open the way the baker greeted you earlier. The other simply shifts to make room, patting the gunwale twice. "Come!" You step down. The boat receives your weight without complaint, rocking only enough to remind you that everything here is alive. A third man unties the mooring cord from a polished stump and pushes off with a short paddle. The movement is so smooth you barely feel the lake take you. Only the reeds sliding past tell you you're gliding. The water is a perfect mirror this morning, reflecting sky and mist so faithfully that the boat seems to float between 2 heavens. Every dip of the paddle leaves a soft swirl that widens, hesitates, then smooths itself away again. Fish move beneath you in slow silver flashes, unbothered. A kingfisher perches on a half-submerged branch ahead, electric blue against the pale world, watching the boat approach with royal indifference. The fishermen work without hurry. One pays out a net in a wide, lazy arc. The threads sink like pale spider silk, disappearing inch by inch. The other steers with tiny corrections, guiding the boat along the edge of the reed forest where the deeper water begins. You sit near the prow, legs dangling over the side, letting your fingers trail through the cool surface. Tiny ripples spread from your fingertips and catch the light like scattered coins. Time dissolves. There is only the hush of water parting, the occasional soft plop of a fish, the creak of wood warmed by your bodies. A heron rises from the reeds with a sound like tearing silk and flaps away, slow and deliberate, as though it has all century. The man beside you smiles at the bird, a small private smile, then offers you a turn at the paddle. You take it. The handle is worn satin smooth by countless palms. You imitate his motion. Dip, pull, lift, feather. The boat understands and glides obediently. After a while, the net is full enough. They draw it in together, hand over hand, the way people have done since the lake was born. Perch and bream slide over the gunwale in shining arcs, scales catching the low sun like scattered opals. No one cheers. There is only quiet satisfaction. The fish are tipped gently into a woven basket, already half filled with wet moss to keep them cool. The boat turns, almost by itself, and begins the slow return. The village reappears through the mist, like something remembered from a dream you didn't want to wake up from. Smoke from many hearths now rises in soft gray ribbons, blending with the haze until sky and village feel stitched together by the same thread. As the platform nears, the younger fisherman lifts the basket and sets it on the planks. Then he does something that makes your throat tighten just a little. He reaches into the water, scoops a handful, and lets it trickle over the gunnel as a quiet thank you to the lake. The older one nods approval. You find yourself copying the gesture without thinking. The water is cold and perfect on your skin. They help you step out. The basket stays behind, their morning gift to the village. But the older fisherman presses something small and cool in your palm. A tiny fish, carved from antler, no longer than your thumb. Eyes marked with dots of black pitch. A keepsake, or perhaps a promise that the lake will remember you kindly. You stand on the platform a moment longer, watching them pull away again, already fading into the brightening mist. The carved fish is smooth and light, as though it might still swim if you let it go. The carved fish is still cool against your palm when soft laughter drifts along the walkway, light as thistledown. You follow the sound around a gentle bend and find a patch of open platform where the morning sun has gathered like warm milk. 5 or 6 children are crouched in a loose circle, knees dusted with clay, fingers busy with small wet lumps taken from a shared bowl. Their hair is tangled from sleep, their tunics slipping off one shoulder or the other, and every face is lit with the kind of concentration that only children can give to something perfectly unimportant. The oldest, perhaps 10 summers, notices you first. Instead of shyness, she simply tilts her head, bird-like, then scoots aside to make a space exactly your size. You lower yourself among them. The planks are already warm here, sun-soaked and smelling faintly of pine resin. They are shaping tiny animals from river clay the color of weak tea, cattle with stubby legs, deer with delicate antlers no longer than a fingernail, even a round-bellied boar with a cheerful spiral tail. Each creature is pressed flat on the bottom so it can stand. One little boy, gap-toothed and solemn, is attempting a hedgehog. Every time he tries to add spines, the whole thing collapses, and he sighs the deepest sigh you have ever heard from someone so small. A girl with sun-bleached curls hands you a lump of clay still cool from the water jar. It is soft and obedient under your fingers, smelling of deep earth and rain. Without thinking, you begin rolling a simple cow. The children watch, quiet for once. When you pinch 2 tiny horns and scratch faint eyes with a reed splinter, they all lean in at once, breath held. The hedgehog boy tugs your sleeve and offers you his newest attempt. This one has managed 3 whole spines. You accept it gravely, turning it in the light so the spines catch tiny glints. His face breaks into a sunrise smile. Time forgets itself again. Clay animals multiply across the planks like a peaceful herd. Someone starts a game. Each new creature must be given a name whispered so softly only the maker and the clay can hear. You whisper yours, Little Cloud, and set her beside the hedgehog. The children nod approval. Names are serious magic here. A very small girl with round cheeks decides the animals need a lake. She scoops a shallow bowl shape in the dust and lines it with flat pebbles for water. Everyone helps carry tiny loads of real water in cupped hands, dripping and giggling when half of it escapes down their wrists. Soon the clay cattle stand knee-deep in a shining mirror no wider than your handspan. The sun climbs higher, warming the backs of your necks. Someone's mother calls from a distant doorway, not scolding, only reminding. The children begin pressing their finished animals into the hands of whoever is closest. You suddenly own 3 cows, 1 deer, the triumphant hedgehog, and a lopsided bird that might be a duck. They are still damp, fragile, perfect. The oldest girl gathers the leftover clay, smooths it into a single ball, and tucks it carefully into a leaf wrap for tomorrow. Then, as naturally as birds lifting from a branch, they stand, brush off their knees, and scatter toward breakfast smells. The platform is empty except for you and a small silent pasture of clay creatures catching the sun. You line them up along the edge of the walkway so they can watch the real lake. A breeze ruffles the water, and the reflections of your tiny herd shimmer back at you. The hedgehog, proud of his 3 spines, seems almost ready to curl up and sleep in the warmth. When you finally rise, the clay has begun to dry pale and light on your fingertips. You leave the animals where they are. Someone will come back for them later, or perhaps the evening rain will gently return them to the lake. Either way feels right. The sun has climbed high enough to turn the mist into a haze of gold, and the village settles into the quiet hum of midday work. You drift along the walkways, past houses where doors stand open like sleepy eyes, until a soft, rhythmic thud, thud, thud draws you toward the far end of the village. There, beneath a roof of woven willow, sits an old woman at a loom that looks older than the lake itself. She is small and round-shouldered, hair the color of storm clouds tied back with a strip of faded red cloth. Her fingers move without seeming to move at all. Lift, pass the shuttle, beat the weft home with a wooden sword worn smooth as river stone. The loom is upright, 2 sturdy posts sunk into the platform, crossbeams laced with hundreds of fine flax threads that glint like spider silk in the slanted light. She notices you the way a tree notices a bird landing on its branch. No startle, only quiet welcome. With her chin, she indicates the low bench opposite her. You sit. The bench is warm from the sun and smells faintly of lavender someone once tucked between the planks. The cloth growing between the threads is the color of pale sky after rain. Every few passes she pauses to run her palm over the new fabric, feeling for flaws the way you might stroke a cat to be sure it is content. There are no flaws. The weave is tight enough to hold water, yet soft as breath. Dragonflies hover outside the open wall, their wings ticking softly whenever they turn. One lands on the loom's upper beam and stays, a living brooch of green and bronze. The weaver smiles at it, a small, private smile, then reaches to a basket at her feet and lifts out a handful of dried nettles. She lays them across the finished edge of the cloth. The green looks like a meadow resting on cloud. You watch her feet on the treadles, slow, deliberate, the rhythm of someone who has all the time the lake can give. The loom answers with its gentle thud, 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 a heartbeat older than words. After a while, she slides the shuttle toward you across the warp threads, an invitation. Your hands remember the clay from earlier. They are still patient. You take the shuttle, smooth olive wood polished by generations of palms, and pass it through the shed. The weaver nods once, adjusts your grip ever so slightly, then lets you continue. Thud, thud. The cloth grows by the width of one dragonfly wing. Minutes or hours pass. You are no longer certain. The heat is gentle here, filtered through the willow roof into dappled coins of light that drift across your knees. Somewhere a baby laughs in its sleep. The dragonfly lifts off and circles your head once before returning to its perch. When the shuttle is nearly empty, The weaver takes it back without ceremony. She ties off the last thread with a knot so tiny it might be a secret. Then she lifts the entire piece from the loom. It falls in soft folds, lighter than you expected, and drapes it around your shoulders like a shawl made of morning itself. It is still warm from her hands and the sun. The faint scent of flax and crushed lavender rises from the fibers. You start to protest, too fine, too much, but she places one finger lightly on your lips, shaking her head the way the lake shakes its head at storms. Not today. Outside, the light has shifted to that perfect golden slant that means the day has decided to be kind. The weaver returns to her loom, already warping new threads the color of twilight water. You stand, the shawl settling around you like friendly arms, and feel the soft weight of it across your back all the way down the walkway. The day has softened into its warmest, laziest hour. The sun hangs overhead like a ripe peach too heavy to fall, and every plank, every reed roof, every drop of water seems to breathe out a slow, golden sigh. You find yourself guided, without a word, only the gentle pressure of the shawl on your shoulders, toward a wide platform shaded by a canopy of woven rushes and hazel boughs. Beneath it, the village has gathered to rest. Mats of pale reeds are spread in overlapping circles. Old men lean back against house walls with eyes half closed, fingers idly tracing patterns on their knees. Women sit in small knots, nursing babies, or simply letting their hands lie open in their laps like empty bowls, waiting for peace to fill them. Children, still dusted with clay from the morning, curl like kittens wherever there is space. Someone has set out low clay cups and a large bowl of cool nettle tea, pale green and smelling of meadows after rain. A woman with laugh lines deep as riverbeds ladles a cup and places it in your hands. The clay is sun-warm on the outside, cool inside. You drink. The taste is quiet and green, sliding down your throat like a secret you are happy to keep. You sink onto a mat near the edge where the shade melts into sunlight. The shawl settles around you, lighter than thought. Around you, the village exhales. A very old man nearby begins to snore in soft, regular puffs that sound almost like distant wood pigeons answering one another across the water. Someone giggles, barely a breath, then hushes herself. Overhead, the canopy rustles whenever a small breeze remembers its manners. Light filters through in slow, drifting patches that travel across sleeping faces, across the backs of resting dogs, across your own closed eyelids when you let them fall. The world narrows to the hush of breath, the faint creak of the platform rocking on its stilts, the occasional plop of a fish too lazy to make a proper splash. Time stretches, sweet and slow as warm honey. Your cup is refilled twice without you noticing how. Each time the tea tastes a little more like the lake itself, clean, cool, and older than sorrow. The nettle leaves floating on top spin gently whenever the bowl is moved, like tiny green boats going nowhere in particular. A child crawls over, lays her head on your knee for a moment, trusting, warm, then crawls away again to find her mother. You feel the small weight of her absence more than her presence, and it is perfect. Somewhere, a flute tries a note or two, thinks better of it, and falls silent. Even music is resting today. The heat presses gently, not cruelly. It invites every muscle to unclench, every worry to sink through the planks and be carried away by the quiet water below. Your shoulders drop. Your thoughts loosen and drift like dandelion seeds. The shawl smells now of flax, sun, and the faint sweetness of whoever sat here before you. You are no longer sure where your breathing ends and the village breathing begins. The platform rocks almost imperceptibly, a cradle built by people who understood that the lake itself is a mother. Sleep hovers at the edges of the shade, patient as the heron you saw earlier. It does not insist, it only waits, wings folded, knowing you will come when you are ready. And for a little while, maybe a minute, maybe the whole afternoon, you simply are. Nothing is required of you except to be part of this golden, humming quiet. The hush is so complete that when a small, worried bleat drifts across the water, it feels almost like a shout. A young goat, barely more than a handful of legs and curiosity, has wandered too far along a narrow side walkway that leads into the denser reeds. Its little hooves click once, twice, then stop. Another bleat, thinner this time, edged with the first taste of being lost. No one startles, no one scolds. The village simply unfolds itself from its resting mats the way a flower opens to evening, slow, certain, and together. An old woman sets her cup down with deliberate care. A boy of 7 rubs sleep from his eyes and is already on his feet. The baker from this morning wipes flour from her hands onto her apron and joins the quiet stream of bodies moving toward the sound. You rise too. The shawl slips from one shoulder but stays with you, as though it has decided to help. The search is gentle, almost a stroll. People spread out along the branching walkways without needing to speak, each choosing a direction the way birds choose air currents. Bare feet pad softly. Reeds brush against tunics with a dry whisper. The sun, now tilting westward, paints long, kindly shadows that stretch ahead like guides. You follow a narrow plank that curves behind a cluster of houses. The goat scent, warm milk and crushed mint, lingers faintly. A little girl walks beside you holding your hand for balance, more than guidance. Her palm is sticky from earlier honey. She swings it lightly, trusting the afternoon to be kind. Further out, the planks grow springier, the water closer. Dragonflies skim the surface in lazy figure eights. Someone ahead makes a soft clicking sound with the tongue, not calling, only reminding the goat that friends are near. Another answers from the left. The sounds braid together like invisible threads pulling the village tighter. You round a final bend, and there it is, a small white shape trembling on a half-rotted board that sags toward the water. Its ears flick back and forth, measuring danger. One more step, and the plank might give. The child beside you squeezes your fingers once, then lets go. The old woman from the resting platform arrives first. She kneels, joints creaking like beloved furniture, and extends both arms without hurry. The goat recognizes the shape of safety. Its legs unfold, and it trots straight into her embrace, burying its face in the folds of her tunic. A collective breath, held so quietly you hadn't noticed it, is released across the entire village. No cheers, no lectures, only soft laughter that sounds like water returning to itself. The old woman lifts the kid against her shoulder, the way one might carry a sleepy toddler. It nestles there instantly, eyes already half closed again. Someone scratches its poll. Someone else strokes its back. The circle closes and begins the unhurried walk home. On the way back, the planks feel wider, safer. The little girl finds your hand again and hums a three-note tune that has no beginning or end. Sunlight slants through the reeds in warm bars, dusting everyone gold. The goat's heartbeat, quick and bird-like against the old woman's neck, slows to match the rhythm of her steps. By the time the main platform reappears, the afternoon has forgiven everything. The kid is set down among its siblings who greet it with mild sniffs and one half-hearted headbutt of welcome. Someone produces a handful of fresh clover. Tiny teeth make quick work of it. Crisis over. The village folds itself back into its resting shapes, only now the mats feel a little closer together, the shade a little deeper. You settle again where you were, the shawl warm across your lap. The old woman catches your eye from across the circle and lifts 2 fingers to her brow in a small salute. Thank you for coming, stranger. Thank you for caring. You incline your head in return. The goat, already half asleep, gives one more contented bleat that sounds exactly like the lake saying all is well. Twilight arrives the way it always has here, without announcement, only a gradual softening of gold into rose and violet. The lake drinks the colors and gives them back deeper, richer, until the whole world feels steeped in quiet wine. One by one, small clay lamps no larger than cupped hands appear on every threshold. Their wicks are twisted rushes dipped in fat. When lit, they give off a gentle, steady flame the color of candlelit honey. A young woman moves along the walkways carrying a rush basket filled with these tiny lights. She sets one at each doorway, one on every railing post, one at the foot of every ladder. No one directs her. She simply knows where light is needed, the way the lake knows where the moon will rise. When she reaches you, she offers a lamp with both hands and a shy dip of the head. You accept. The clay is still warm from her fingers. Now the real magic begins. Families gather on the platforms, kneeling or sitting in loose circles. Children who napped all afternoon are suddenly wide-eyed again, solemn with importance. Each person takes a lamp, cradles it a moment as though warming a small bird, then lowers it gently to the water's edge. The lake receives every offering without ripple or sound. One by one, the flames slide away from the planks, bobbing like golden water lilies. Hundreds of them drift out together, carried by the same slow current that has carried everything here since the first house was raised on stilts. They do not crowd. There is room for every light and more. The reflections beneath them tremble and stretch, so that the lake suddenly holds twice as many stars as the sky. You kneel with the others and set your own lamp free. It hesitates a moment, kissing the surface, then glides away to join its kin. From the platform, the sight is breathtaking. A slow river of soft gold flowing across black water, turning and spreading until the entire village is surrounded by a quiet constellation. No one speaks. There is no need. The lamps carry every unspoken wish, every small gratitude, every gentle hope the day has gathered. A baby sighs in its mother's arms, and old man's eyes shine wet in the lamplight, though his smile is steady. Somewhere, a dog rests its chin on its paws and watches the lights the way it might watch sheep. The breeze that arrives is tender. It lifts the scent of warm fat and water plants and carries it over the village like a lullaby. The floating lamps begin to cluster in slow eddies, forming soft galaxies that spin and dissolve and reform. One drifts beneath the platform where you sit and pauses, flame dancing on your shadow. You can almost hear it breathing. Minutes stretch, sweet and endless. The sky deepens to indigo, and the first real stars appear overhead, paler cousins to the ones on the water. The two skies gaze at each other in perfect contentment. A heron flies low over the lights, wings cutting a dark silhouette, then vanishes into the reeds without disturbing a single flame. Eventually, the lamps begin to thin. Some reach the far reeds and settle there like nesting fireflies. Others simply sink, fulfilled, leaving only a faint shimmer that lingers on the water long after the light is gone. The village exhales. Feet pad softly back toward houses. Lamps left on doorsteps now glow steady and welcoming, guiding the last stragglers home. You stay a moment longer, kneeling at the edge, palms resting on warm wood. The water beneath you is black mirror again, holding the sky's new stars and the memory of fire. Your own lamp is somewhere out there still, a tiny steadfast heart carrying whatever quiet wish you didn't know you made. When you finally stand, the night air has cooled just enough to feel kind against your skin. The shawl settles closer around your shoulders, as though the evening itself tucked it there. The last of the floating lamps has slipped away into the reeds, and the village folds itself into the deeper dark with the quiet certainty of a flower closing for the night. Most doors are now soft rectangles of lamplight, and from nearly every house drifts the low, comforting murmur of families settling. Yet one thread of sound rises above the rest, a single bone flute, thin and breathy as wind through a cracked shell. You follow it because your feet already know the way. The melody is slow, almost too slow to be called music. Each note lingers until it forgets its own edges, then the next note arrives like a tired traveler who only wants to rest beside its friend. The tune has no hurry and no end. It circles the same 3 or 4 phrases the way the lake circles its own heart. You find the player on a small side platform that juts out over the water like a thoughtful lip. He is old, or perhaps only weathered the way driftwood is old, sitting cross-legged with the flute resting against his lower lip. His eyes are closed. Moonlight, thin and silver, slides across his cheekbones and the polished bone in his hands. The flute itself is no longer than your forearm, pale as winter sky, carved with tiny rings that might once have been eyes. He does not open his eyes when your bare feet touch the planks, only shifts a finger's breadth to make room. You sit. The wood here is cool from the night air and still holds the faint warmth of the day beneath, like a promise kept. The melody changes, not in shape, but in depth. It sinks lower, softer, until you feel it more in your ribs than your ears. A fish rises somewhere below, a slow silver coin turning over, and the note seems to follow its arc. Another note answers from the reeds, a night bird, or perhaps only the lake remembering the tune from some earlier century. Your shoulders loosen without permission. The shawl slides down to your elbows and pools in your lap like moonlight made solid. The flute circles again, patient as seasons. You find your own breath matching it, long, slow, deeper than you thought possible. Each exhale leaves carrying something small and unnecessary, a worry, a tightness, the faint echo of tomorrow's noise. Time loosens its grip entirely. There are only the notes arriving, resting, leaving. The player's fingers barely move now. The music seems to play itself through him, the way wind plays itself through reeds. A dragonfly, late, confused, or simply in love with the sound, lands on the flute's far end and rides the tiny vibrations like a boat on gentle waves. You feel the tune inside your bones, soft as marrow. Memories you didn't know you were holding drift up and away with every exhaled note. The weight of the day, the weight of years, the weight of names you answer to in another world. They rise like the thinnest smoke and dissolve into the starlit water. Eventually, though eventually has lost all meaning, the player lowers the flute. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full, round, and shining, the way the pause between heartbeats is full of the next beat waiting to happen. He opens his eyes, looks at you for the first time, and smiles the smallest possible smile, the kind that doesn't need teeth or sound. Then he places the bone flute across your knees. It is still warm from his lips, lighter than a bird's hollow bone should be. You close your hands around it carefully, as though it might keep breathing if you are gentle enough. He stands, stretches once like an old cat, and pads away into the lamplit village without looking back. The platform is yours now, and the night, and whatever is left of the tune still hanging in the air like perfume. You stay until the stars themselves seem to lean closer to listen. The flute rests across your knees like a sleeping creature, still faintly warm and humming with the last note. A new scent drifts along the walkways. Smoke, yes, but richer now. Roasted barley, smoked fish, the sweet earthiness of mushrooms dried on roof strings all summer. Hunger, which had been sleeping as deeply as the village, stirs and stretches inside you. Doors stand open everywhere, spilling soft lamplight onto the planks. From each house comes the quiet clink of clay bowls and the gentle rustle of people making room. You rise, flute cradled in one hand, shawl over your shoulder, and let the smell carry you. The largest platform, the one that held the midday resting circle, has become a single long table of reed mats laid end to end. Oil lamps hang from low poles, their flames steady in the windless night. People settle in loose rings, knees touching knees, passing bowls hand to hand the way the lake passes its own ripples. Someone has already saved a place for you, a small gap between the baker and the old woman who carried the goat. They shift without ceremony, and you sink down among them. The planks are still warm from the day, and the mat beneath you smells of sun-dried grass. The first bowl to reach you is deep and heavy. Barley porridge, thick as velvet, swirled with wild garlic and tiny shreds of smoked perch. A wooden spoon, worn soft at the edges, is pressed into your hand. You scoop. The steam rises into your face, carrying comfort older than language. The taste is quiet thunder, earth, smoke, salt, and something faintly sweet that might be the memory of sunrise. Next comes a flat basket of emmer cakes, still hot from the ashes, their underside speckled black. Someone tears one in half and lays the steaming piece on your knee. Butter, made from goat milk and kept cool in a clay jar sunk in the lake, is offered in a leaf cup. You spread it. It melts instantly into pale gold rivers. Bowls circle endlessly. Stewed apples with honey and crushed hazelnuts. Small roasted roots that taste of the forest floor after rain. A dark broth of mushrooms and nettles, so rich it coats the spoon like midnight. Each time a bowl empties, another appears from a different doorway, as though the village itself is one slow, generous heartbeat. No one hurries. No one speaks above the level of breath. Children lean against adults and are fed absent-mindedly, mouths open like nestlings. An old man's head nods forward. He wakes just long enough to accept another spoonful from his daughter, then drifts again. The dogs lie in a warm tangle under the mats, hoping for dropped crumbs that rarely come, because everything is too precious tonight. You eat until your belly feels round and quiet as the moon. The flute lies across your lap, untouched. Someone has draped a corner of your shawl over it, like a blanket. The baker notices and smiles, the same smile she gave when you first tasted her bread this morning. She tears a final cake, dips it in honey, and places it directly into your hand. You eat it in 2 slow bites while the taste of the entire day settles into you. When the bowls finally slow, people simply lean back against posts or into each other's shoulders. The lamps burn lower, flames fattening and softening. A baby nurses itself to sleep with small contented sounds. The night air has cooled just enough that the warmth of bodies feels like the best kind of blanket. You sit among them, full, heavy-lidded, the flute a gentle weight on your thighs. The village breathes around you, in, out, in, one creature made of many hearts. Somewhere, far out on the lake, a single floating lamp still glows, stubborn and tender, refusing to sink. No one moves to leave. There is nowhere else to be. The meal has settled into a warm, quiet weight inside you, the way good earth settles after rain. Bowls are gone now, carried away as softly as they arrived. The lamps have burned low, wicks curled like sleeping cats, and the moonlight, thin, pale, and generous, has taken over the night. It pours across the platform in a silver wash that turns every face gentle and familiar. People shift closer together, forming one slow circle. Someone produces a flat slab of damp clay the size of a small shield, its surface smoothed with a wet hand. An elder, the same man who played the bone flute, kneels at its edge. In his hand is a sharpened stick of willow no longer than a finger. Without hurry, he begins to draw. The first mark is a simple curve, a reed bending in unseen wind, then another beside it, and another, until the platform's quiet breathing seems to appear on the clay. He draws the lake itself, a long oval with soft ripples. Around it rise the curved roofs of houses, tiny doorways open like welcoming arms. Stilt legs descend into water marked with quick crosshatches that somehow feel cool when you look at them. Others lean in. A woman adds a line of floating lamps, each one a dot with a tiny flame scratched above it. A child reaches carefully and draws the little goat from this afternoon, complete with 3 wobbly legs and a proud tail. Someone else sketches the dragonfly that rode the loom all day. Hands move in and out, never crowding, adding boats, herons, fish rising in slow arcs, the hedgehog with his 3 perfect spines. You watch the village appear beneath their fingers, not as memory, but as living breath. The baker draws the round loaves cooling on her mat this morning. The weaver adds the soft folds of the shawl now resting across your shoulders. When the clay reaches you, The stick is offered without ceremony. Your hand knows what to do. You draw the small carved antler fish the fisherman placed in your palm. Eyes two tiny dots, tail curved as though still swimming through dawn mist. The moon slides across the smoke hole of the sky, laying its light over the tablet like cool water. The picture is nearly full now, every moment of the day caught in soft gray lines. Someone adds a final touch. A single figure standing on the walkway, shawl fluttering, holding something small against the chest. You feel your throat tighten gently. They have drawn you, small and quiet, part of the circle forever. When the last line is placed, the elder smooths a corner with his palm, not erasing, only softening, the way dreams soften at the edges before waking. Then he lifts the tablet carefully and sets it on the edge of the platform where the lake can see it. Moonlight and water gaze at the picture together. No one explains, no one needs to. The story has been told in the oldest way, lines pressed into wet earth by people who love slowly and well. A hush deeper than any before settles over the circle. Even the lamps seem to breathe more quietly. Shoulders touch shoulders, heads rest on neighboring knees. The night air carries only the faintest scent of smoke and cooling clay. You sit among them, the boned flute across your lap, the shawl warm from many bodies, and the carved fish and the drawn fish, both somehow swimming inside your chest. The tablet gleams faintly at the water's edge, holding the whole gentle day like a promise nothing can break. Sleep begins to rise from the planks themselves, slow, sweet, inevitable. Eyelids drift downward across the circle one by one until the moon has the village all to itself and to the quiet lake that keeps every secret. The night has thinned to its softest hour, that quiet fold between moonset and the first shy blush of dawn. Most of the village has slipped away to beds of piled reeds and wool, their breathing drifting through open doorways like low tide. Only a few remain on the wide platform, wrapped in the same hush that held the clay tablet a little while ago. The tablet itself is gone now, gently lowered into the lake while you dozed against someone's shoulder, returned to the water that gave it. Someone touches your elbow, light as a moth. It is the baker, hair loose and silvered by starlight, eyes soft with sleep, and something else, a tender urgency that needs no words. She rises, and you rise with her. Others follow, the flute player, the old woman who carried the goat, the weaver, the fisherman who gave you the carved fish. A small, silent procession forms behind you, bare feet making almost no sound on the cool planks. They lead you to the very edge of the village, where the walkways narrow and the reeds grow thick and secretive. The mist, your old friend from yesterday's arrival, is already gathering again, pale and patient, curling around the stilts like a cat returning to its favorite lap. The air smells of dew and distant bread. At the last platform, the baker stops and turns to you. From beneath her tunic she draws a small bead, the color of deep lake water at noon, polished jade no larger than a hazelnut, drilled through and hung on a thread of flax. She slips it over your head. It settles against your chest with a soft click, cool at first, then warming instantly to your skin. A keepsake, a promise, a quiet thank you for having been here. One by one, the others approach. The flute player presses the bone flute into your left hand and folds your fingers around it. The fisherman places the tiny antler fish in your right palm, closing your hand gently so the two gifts rest together. The weaver smooths the shawl one last time, tucking a loose corner so it will not slip on the journey. The old goat woman simply rests her forehead against yours for the length of one slow breath. No one smiles too widely. Goodbyes here are too gentle for that. Eyes shine, but tears are kept for private moments. Instead, there is only the steady pressure of hands, the warmth of nearness, the unspoken understanding that some mornings must come. They step back, forming a quiet half-circle. The mist thickens behind you, patient and kind. You feel the plank beneath your feet grow subtly springy, as though the village itself is exhaling you outward. The bead at your throat pulses once, like a small second heart. You take one step backward onto the narrow board that leads into the reeds. The mist folds around your ankles, cool and welcoming. Another step, and the platform softens behind you. The villagers lift their hands, not a wave, only an open palm saying, "Go gently, come again, we will remember." The reeds close, the mist thickens to milk. The scent of water and warm thatch fades into something older, greener, dreamier. You do not look back, you do not need to. The bead, the flute, the carved fish, the shawl, they carry the village with you now. Ahead, the first pale hint of dawn touches the edge of the world, soft as forgiveness. The mist carries you the way it carried you in slow, rocking cradling. Reeds brush your shoulders with sleepy fingers, parting just enough to let you through, then closing again behind you like curtains drawn on a perfect play. The planks beneath your feet grow narrower, softer, until they are no longer planks at all, but simply the idea of a path the lake is willing to lend for a little while. You walk without effort. The bead at your throat glows faintly, a tiny green star against your skin. The bone flute and the antler fish rest together in your hand, warm as though they have hearts of their own. The shawl flutters once, twice, then settles, content. Water sounds grow closer, small secret laps, the hush of something breathing beneath the surface. Dawn is still only a promise, a pale blush low on the horizon, but the mist has begun to thin in slow drifting ribbons. Each ribbon reveals a little more of the lake you have known all day. The same dark mirror, the same patient reeds, yet somehow gentler now, as if the night has taught it new tenderness. A heron lifts off somewhere to your left, wings cutting the quiet with one slow beat before it vanishes into gray. You feel the air move across your cheek like a goodbye kiss. The path, if it is still a path, curves once more, and suddenly the village is gone. There is only water on all sides, calm and depthless, reflecting the first faint pearl of coming light. You stop. The mist pauses with you, holding its breath. For a long moment there is nothing but the soft rocking of the world and the quiet thump of your own heart, and the smaller, steadier heartbeat of the jade bead. Memories of the day drift across the water like the last floating lamps. Warm bread at dawn, children's clay animals, the weight of a rescued goat, lamplight sliding away into darkness, the taste of barley and honey, lines pressed into wet clay under moonlight. They do not fade, they simply settle, the way silt settles after a boat has passed, becoming part of the lake bed forever. A breeze, cool, deliberate, and infinitely kind, touches your face. It lifts the edge of the shawl, tugs gently at your hair, and begins to unravel the mist thread by thread. Bright grows behind your closed eyelids, soft rose, then warmer gold. The lake gives one last cradle rock, a lullaby in motion, then releases you. You feel the path firm beneath your feet again, ordinary ground now, cool morning grass instead of ancient planks. The mist peels away like the softest veil. Somewhere a bird tries a note, likes it, tries another. You open your eyes. The lake village is gone, yet not gone. The bead is real against your skin. The flute and the antler fish are solid in your hand. The shawl smells faintly of wood smoke and lavender. Dawn, real dawn, spreads across an ordinary sky, and the air is cool with ordinary dew. But your heart is impossibly full, gently, perfectly full, as though you have swallowed an entire quiet village, and it is sleeping there, warm and content. You smile, small, private, unstoppable, and take the first step toward whatever this new day will be. The bead pulses once, like a sleepy child turning over. Somewhere far away across water that is no longer there, someone is baking bread. Someone is playing a bone flute. Someone is smoothing clay for tomorrow's stories. And they are smiling too. The mist has lifted entirely now. Morning light spills across the path ahead, soft and gold and full of gentle promises. You walk slowly, carrying the village with you in the quietest, sweetest way. Everything is very, very still. Everything is exactly enough. Now the world around you softens even further. The colors of dawn blur at the edges, the way watercolor does when you breathe on it. The path beneath your feet feels less like ground and more like a held breath. Your eyelids, when did they grow so heavy? Begin to sink of their own accord, slow as the last floating lamp giving itself to the water. Let them sink. The sounds of morning, birds, wind and new leaves, your own footsteps, fade into a hush deeper than any the village ever knew. The bead at your throat grows warmer, then cooler, then simply part of your pulse. The flute and the fish dissolve into pure warmth in your palm, becoming light itself. The shawl loosens until it is only the idea of being held. You are drifting now, the way you drifted in, only this time the current is carrying you home, not to houses or streets, but to the quiet cove behind your eyes where the best dreams wait. The lake village exhales one final time, a sigh of perfect contentment, and releases you. There is no rush. There never was. Breathe in and out. Let the day go. Let everything go. You are safe. You are carried. You are deeply and perfectly loved by 1,000 small kindnesses you will carry forever. Sleep now, dear traveler. The lake is keeping watch. The reeds are singing, too soft to hear. And somewhere, someone is already baking tomorrow's bread, just in case you find your way back. Good night. Good night. Good night. End of story. Sweet dreams.